Hey guys, so I recently gave birth and I kind of wanted to give people kind of sort of a guide and kind of tell my story with pregnancy, just because it wasn't the easiest and I didn't really see a lot of support from like other YouTubers and stuff talking about some of the things that I went through that I kind of wanted to share just for those soon-to-be moms, especially first-time moms that kind of went through what I went through and didn't know how to go about it, didn't know how to feel about it. Like, I hit a lot of lows during my pregnancy that I don't think a lot of people ever really talk about, and so I could just want to share my story and kind of help others struggling through what I've been through. So I got pregnant in November of 2019. And at first, the first 6 weeks was great. I didn't really have a lot of symptoms. I was drowsy, kind of sleepy all the time, but nothing else really came from that. After 6 weeks, I'm sorry, that's my daughter. After 6 weeks is when it really got terrible. My nausea was just insane. I would throw up every hour of the day, like clockwork, because I just couldn't handle the nausea. I would make myself throw up because I just could not handle it. And the only time I ever felt good was like the 10 minutes after I threw up. So because of that, I actually lost about, oh God, 25 to 30 pounds. Like, it was insane. It got to the point where my doctors were very, 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 scared for me, actually. They were very concerned. They were telling me that I had to start eating more, asking me like what was going on, why was I not eating, why was I losing weight at such a rapid rate. And I've tried everything. I tried not taking my prenatals because of the iron, because sometimes iron makes you really, really nauseous. I tried Bone-Gesta. I tried taking the vitamins, over-counter vitamins that they told me, I don't even know what it's called. I don't know. They make you take like a concoction of things, and it's like over-the-counter, like vitamin B6 for sickness, you know, morning sickness. Nothing worked. Bone-Gesta helped, but it only helped for a few hours, and I could only receive the sample size because my insurance made it to where the actual 30-day capsule medication was over $300, and that was with insurance. And without insurance, it's almost like $600-700. And because it's, I guess, patent pending or whatever it is, copyrighted, I don't know, there was no generic brand for it. Like, that was all I could take. And that was kind of the only relief for me. So by this point, after like, I want to say like, I don't know, I think I was like 3 months, I was like 3 or 4 months pregnant, and I lost such a significant amount of weight that my doctor actually put me on a, oh Lord, I don't even remember what it was called, on a pump. And that pump actually pumped medicine into my stomach to help with the morning sickness. I mean, it was just so bad. And I just couldn't do anything. And like around this time, I was finishing up my last year of college. I was doing an internship. I had to still work, you know, because we couldn't survive off of just my husband's income. And then, on top of that, I still had to do the cooking, cleaning. I still had to do homework. I still had, you know, I still wanted to hang out with my family and go out on the weekends and you know, it was just, and do all these projects, and it was just so overwhelming, and that put a lot of stress on me too. So, I mean, obviously that kind of didn't help with my morning sickness, but it was just every day I had to be up and out and had to do all these things that I don't know, I was exhausted, and it didn't help going to all these doctor appointments, and it was such a stressful time for me. But I ended up doing the pump for about a good 2 months, a good 2 months, and that was the only thing that relieved me. They say that your first trimester is always the hardest because you have such, all the hormones pumping through your body and all the hormones of your baby is pumping through your body, and it causes a lot of hormone imbalance, which causes a lot of these morning sickness and symptoms that you see. But it just got worse during my second trimester. And I don't know if it was because I had a girl and it was just twice as much estrogen as I was used to, or I don't know what exactly it was, but it just got worse. And I was like, oh Lord, by the third trimester, like I'm gonna pass out, like I'm gonna die, because I just couldn't handle it much anymore. So that pump was the only thing that ever relieved me, and it relieved me the entire time I was on it. I was on it for a good 2 months, and I'm telling you that I think I put on like 10 pounds in like 2 months just because I was on it. And it only made me sick maybe like once or twice a week. And I felt so relieved. But it was awkward because I had to carry it with me. Like I had to keep it on 24 hours a day, 24/7. So it was like a very small, short needle that I just had to stick into my stomach area. And then I had this like really square box machine. It was like this big, and it came with a little carrier that I had to strap on myself, and it would slowly pump it out, the medicine. I would have to keep the medicine in like a cool container and take it with me just in case I ran out and had to refill it while I was out, because I was working and doing an internship and going to school. So my days were pretty long. They started like 7 a.m. and they didn't end until like 9 at night, and I had to push through it. And so I would wear, like, I was already pregnant, so I already had like a very baggy clothes. So what I did was I just wore those baggy clothes and kind of hid it in my waist area. And because I wasn't really a grower during pregnancy, so I mean, it just looked like I had gained weight, but it didn't really look like I had a huge belly or anything like that. So I stayed pretty small. I don't know if that's because of all the throw up and the weight that I lost, but I stayed pretty tiny my entire pregnancy. And so I just strapped it around my waist, and because I had maternity pants and oversized shirts and stuff like that, it just looked like I had gained weight, and you couldn't even see the little box or anything like that. So that was good. So I did that for 2 months, and then after I got off of it, I still felt fine, but I noticed that I would throw up at least once a week until I gave birth. So essentially my third trimester was just overall better, but my tiredness got worse. My tiredness got worse. The symptoms get worse. You start becoming a lot heavier. You get a lot of back pain. I had an insane amount of back pain. Your breasts start getting sore because they're starting to want to produce milk. And then I would still get sick, and it wasn't like too bad, but when I threw up, there was no stopping it. There was no warning. I just felt I would get really, really hot, and then it would just come out. So I literally had a trash can right next to my bed just because it got so bad. And it was mostly in the mornings or like late night. And the only thing that would kind of help was like a hot shower. And they tell you not to do that because it's going to affect the baby, but I did it anyways because I had no other relief other than throwing up. And it got to the point where I was throwing up so much blood that it started affecting my vocal cords. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of raspy just a little bit, and it's just because of the months of damage to my vocal cords. So I'm a singer, not an avid singer, but I do sing sometimes, and I noticed it was hard to sing high notes just because of the damage caused my vocal cords. So that was kind of a struggle, but overall, besides that, it wasn't too bad. I would just get tired a lot, and it got to the point where, because your baby grows so big that it feels like they get up under your ribs, and so when they kick and stuff, they don't have a lot of room, and it actually can feel like it's touching your lungs. And it got to the point where I was having trouble breathing, and it got really concerning because I also have high blood pressure. I had it my entire life. I don't know why. tried changing my diet. I've tried losing weight. I actually had lost like 30 pounds before getting pregnant. I still had high blood pressure, and I don't know, my parents have it, or my mom has it, and then her mom has it, her dad has it. It's pretty much genetic. I don't know if that even has anything to do with it, but I don't know, I just have it, so it kind of sucks. And so I don't even know what I was talking about. So it got to the point where I actually had to see a cardiologist, just because my OB was so concerned with the high blood pressure that she thought it could be signs of preeclampsia or an undiagnosed heart condition, since I never really had my heart checked like that. So I had to go do that a couple times. I had to run a few tests, and everything came out fine. Basically what they told me is that the baby was growing, and so since there was not a lot of space, like I had explained before, there was not a lot of space, so it just felt like it was kicking my lungs, and because of that, you know, my lungs didn't have enough space to expand like they usually do, so it just felt like I was taking more shorter breaths, but really it was just pregnancy, so that was great. Another thing I had was I don't know if it was because I had high blood pressure. I don't know if it was because it was summer. I'm not sure, but I had this insane heat rash just all over my face. It looked like almost chicken pox, and it concerned everyone who saw me. I wore makeup because it just got so bad, and it was usually right after I threw up, and there were like some different things people were telling me. They told me it was like a heat rash. Some people told me it was when your capillaries kind of explode in your face or whatever, like the little tiny veins or something like that, and it causes like these, you know, red skin. I mean, it was not bumpy, but it was just red dots like everywhere, and it literally looked like I had chickenpox. So I'm not sure what that was about. After pregnancy, it went away. It only happened when I got really, really overheated and then threw up. So that's when it happened. God, that was probably one of the weirdest things. And I mean, my OB wasn't really concerned about it. She was just like, you know, just put an ice pack on it and just try not to get overheated is what she told me. So that was kind of weird. I mean, really that's it. I'm kind of convinced that I had hyperemesis. It's a condition where a pregnant person gets very, very, very bad morning sickness to the point where they can even get hospitalized. Luckily, I never did. There were times I wanted to go to the hospital, but I kind of waited it out, and whether that was good or not, I don't know, but it kind of saved me a trip to the hospital. If it got bad enough, I would have, but after like an hour of feeling that way, it kind of went away. So really that was it. Because of that, it also makes your urine really, really dark, and I had a really dark urine. Like, it was dark orange. Like, it was not healthy at all. No matter how much water I drank, it would always stay that color. My OB always thought I was dehydrated when they put the sample in, but then when they ran the test, I was not dehydrated. I had enough ketones in my, or didn't have enough, or whatever. I had a healthy amount of ketones to where I was not dehydrated, or I guess lack of ketones, because that's how they measure it. But I was not dehydrated. It was just the color of my pee. I'm convinced that I had hyperemesis, whatever it's called. I did not get diagnosed with it, but I think it was because my OB doesn't really like diagnosing people. They just tell you, hey, you know, just be careful this, be careful that, but they won't tell me exactly what it is, I guess, to not essentially freak me out. So there was that. It was horrible. Honestly, it was a very bad pregnancy. A lot of people told me it was gonna be okay after the second trimester and it was gonna get better. It got worse for me. I was in so much pain from my back, from the constant throw up, from, I mean, the lack of weight I was gaining. It was so bad. I think I weighed about 200 pounds starting in my pregnancy, and I ended with 200 pounds. And really, you gain a pound a week, like your last trimester. So you gain like 15 to 20 pounds, your last trimester alone, purely from the baby weight, by the baby growing. And I started where, and I stopped where I started. So that was very bad. Like I said, I lost like 20 pounds and then I gained it back last minute, but that was only because it was the baby weight and not even because I gained that weight, I guess, from food or anything like that. So I want to talk about postpartum care in this video, just because I want to just all of this to be kind of in the same thing. I had a really bad birth story. So the Monday before I was supposed to be induced, I had very high blood pressure, like higher than normal with my medication and everything. And it alarmed the doctor that I had at the time, the OB, and she basically, you know, did a test where they checked to see how, what's the word? Basically to just see how ready you are to have birth or to give birth. And so they did that, and I was at 1 centimeter, and she said, you know, with your high blood pressure, you're swelling a lot. I swelled up so bad the last, I want to say, month of pregnancy. It was so bad. It hurt to walk. But anyways, I did that, and she was like, you know what, it's only a week until we have you induced anyways. We're just gonna go ahead and induce you now, head to the hospital. And I was freaking out, and I called my husband, I called my mom. I freaked out because of this whole COVID thing. I could only have one person in the hospital with me, which was my husband, so that was kind of heartbreaking. But I had him get the stuff for me, and we headed to the hospital. I was very dehydrated at that time, so they put in an IV through my arm, and then they ran some tests because my blood pressure was actually normal when I got there, and they waited like 2 hours, and then they did it again, and it was still fine, and the baby was fine, everything was fine. So they said, hey, we want to wait just another week so your baby can get more brain development. Let's just wait another week, and we'll have you actually scheduled for your induction. Because before that, or for your induced time, I guess, I don't know, induction is not the right word. So I was gonna go that following Monday at 5 in the morning. And so we went, they put another IV. They didn't want to do it too fast with the Pitocin or anything like that. So they gave me a very small amount just to see how I would react to it. And I was already kind of having contractions. I was at 3 centimeters before they even did any medication on me. So because of that, they didn't do the balloon, and they didn't give me the other medicine that's supposed to start to induce you. So I did that, and then I started feeling the contractions. They were not bad at all. I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fine. If this is like, I'm just a 1, like these are kind of uncomfortable, but they're nothing, like I can do this. And the entire time I was gonna do an epidural, and I told them, hey, I want an epidural, don't forget my epidural, hey. So then after a few hours, these cramps got horrible. They got horrible. So I literally was screaming out in pain. I was just like, oh my God, like I did not feel good. I threw up while I was induced several times. They were kind of concerned. They were like, oh, do you have COVID? Like, why are you throwing up? And I'm just like, no, I've always had this throughout my entire pregnancy. It's just really bad. They tested me for COVID, came back negative. I had no symptoms, no fever. I was just throwing up. And I told them, you know, it's just from the pain, like from this pain, it's making me nauseous. So they're like, okay, once I got around 6 centimeters, and I couldn't, the pain was like a 7. I told them like, hey, can I have my epidural now? And they're like, yes. So we're actually waiting on the anesthesiologist because apparently there were like 8 other babies about to come out. So this entire time. So there were like 8 other women in labor while I was there getting induced. So it was very hectic. There were only a few doctors, and it was very crazy. So the nurses and doctors kind of had to time everyone out as best as they could. Obviously you can't with a baby, but you know, they did the best that they could. So at 6 centimeters, they finally got the anesthesiologist in to put in my epidural, and they hit a nerve. In horrible pain shot through my body, and my leg actually was twitching to the point where I was shaking, and I screamed. And they're like, what's wrong? Talk us through, like, talk what you're feeling. And I told them, I was like, you guys, I think it hit a nerve. I'm shaking. As soon as you put that in, it hurt. Like, it hurt to the point where I couldn't feel my leg. And the nurse just gave a death stare at the anesthesiologist, and she held my hand and she held me, and I just started crying because it hurt so bad. And she said, okay, just try to hold it, and they I think she tried moving the needle. I don't know, I felt movement down there, and she tried finishing it, and I kind of was numb in my left leg, but my right leg was not numb at all. I felt everything. I could still feel just about everything on my lower backside all the way down to my feet. I mean, it failed. The epidural failed. I don't know if that was just from what happened from the anesthesiologist. I don't know if my body just didn't take the epidural right. I don't know. I really don't know what it was, but maybe it was a combination of everything, but it failed. I still felt everything. I still felt every single contraction up until I gave birth. So essentially it was all natural. The site where my epidural was bleeding profusely, where they thought it was something with my body. I don't know, they were very concerned. They didn't know why I was bleeding so much. They said that usually never happens. They ran a something test, because apparently something medically is a reason why I can bleed so much. Nope, came back clear. So they really didn't know why. And I think it was just because the anesthesiologist just didn't place it right, or maybe I moved and it just didn't get properly placed. I don't know. So I know it just gets better and better, doesn't it? But essentially I did that, and then it got to the point where I literally was screaming from every contraction. Well, not really screaming, because I'm not really a screamer. It was more like, oh my God. and I would kind of yell that and then just squeeze on the side of the bed really, really hard, and I would tense up, and it felt like I couldn't breathe because I was already having breathing issues. And then my nurse was just like teaching me how to breathe again, and every single time I had a contraction, she had to remind me to breathe because it was so bad. And I was telling her that the pain was at a 9, like it was so bad. They tried giving me another pain medication. It didn't work either. I mean, it worked for maybe like 2-3 hours, and I finally got to take a nap. But once it wore off, like they couldn't give me anything because I was already at 9 centimeters, and they said, we can't give you anything. It's time to have the baby. Like, you need to have this baby now. So from the start that I was pushing until the end of when I had my baby, it took a good like 2 hours. I was pushing for a good 2 hours. And it was just because all these nurses and stuff had to go deliver all these other babies. Like, all these other babies were popping out all at the same time. We all were giving birth at the same time, and it was so bad. My doctor kept running in and out of the room just to check on me and then check on his other patients. So was the head nurse. I had another nurse, luckily, who was there to walk me through it. She was so sweet. She was like, okay, just start to push whenever you feel like it. Okay, stop, breathe, push, breathe. And then she had to go and help deliver, and it was just me and my husband there, and it was scary. It was very scary, and the pain was indescribable. You really do block it out, and I'm convinced this is why people have more kids. But you would truly block out all of that. Like a few days, like right after it happened and a few days after, I literally did not remember a lot of my birth of my daughter. It was just so bad. I was exhausted. I mean, I had already been awake for over 2 days now. It was so much pain. I couldn't even begin to process anything. There was so much stuff going on. It was just a lot. So if it wasn't for my husband telling me like all this, like that he remembered, I honestly don't remember a lot of it. So I was in labor for a very long time. It was extremely painful. I don't know how people do this naturally. They tell me that the first time it hurts the most just because the baby didn't have a clear pathway or canal to get out afterwards. You know, the second or even third babies have an easier and shorter time coming out just because of, I mean, it's already there. It's already bigger than it was before, and it was already, the path was already made, so it'd be a lot easier for the other babies to come out. So they said it was just, you know, your first time is the most painful. So I just remember screaming a lot. It was very painful. I remember asking the doctor, just give me the C-section, just give me a C-section. I don't even care, just cut me open. And he kind of, you know, he kind of laughed, and he was like, you know, I could, and I really could do it right now, but I think you can do this. Like, you can do this, just do one more push. And he would tell me that every single minute, just do one more push. Come on, one more push, one more push. We did it in increments of 3. So whenever I had a contraction, I would push 3 times. And then if the contraction was over, I would rest until my next contraction. If not, I would keep pushing until the contraction was over. And I did that for just an insanely long time. I was sweating, I was throwing up from the pain. I was asking my doctor to just rip me open. It felt like painful pressure, and it felt like just like you really had to go to the restroom. Like, it really does feel like that. And it felt like one of those painful ones that are like really big and you have to like kind of push it out. It kind of felt like that, but 1,000 times worse, and on your pelvic muscles. And so it was just extremely uncomfortable, extremely painful. I don't know how people do that more than once. God, I'm so glad you block out that trauma, because it was just like, now I want to have another kid, but oh my God, it makes me kind of nervous just thinking about that. It was just, it was pretty bad. You know, it's worth it, but God. Anyways, so there's that, and then finally she came out. I just felt like I just had to do it. I had to do it. Like I just had to push her out right now or I was going to die. And you know, the doctor kind of didn't, not yelled at me, but kind of like hyped me up, like, okay, one more, oh my gosh, one more, she's almost here, get out, or push. And they kind of all hyped me up, my husband, the nurses, and my doctor, and I was like, okay, I need to push. And so finally she came out. She came out. They put her on my chest right away. Then they squished my tummy and everything to get the placenta out and all that blood. As soon as they did it, I just gushed out blood. They took the placenta out. I actually got to see it. I asked if I could see it, if he could tell me what everything was, and he did. It looked really heavy, it looked huge too. And then the part where he was squishing me really hurt too. And then he stitched me back up. Luckily I only had 2 stitches. It wasn't that bad, just because they poured vitamin E oil several times. They just poured it on me to help with the elasticity. After that, they hauled her away to go do what they needed to do, and she didn't cry, which was really concerning. And I was like, oh my God, why is she not breathing? Why is she not crying? Everyone stayed silent, and then finally they got her to cry, and I was so relieved. I don't know what that was, but anyways, and then my husband got to hold her. That was really nice. And so after everything, they kind of cleaned me up. They had to put a catheter inside me so that I didn't have to walk constantly to go pee, so I could heal. And they did that for a day. After that, I got to rest just a little bit, but because of all the adrenaline and the medicine that they gave me, I shook and I was shaking literally like this, my entire body from head to toe. I was freezing. Even though I was sweating, I could tell I was very hot, but I was completely freezing just because of all the medication I was on. It got to the point where after everything, I couldn't even hold my daughter. Like the first couple hours, it was so bad. And I was shaking too much. I couldn't breastfeed the first 2 hours. My husband had to bottle feed her. It was a great experience for him, but I couldn't help. I couldn't do anything. I physically could not. But another thing I wanted to mention was while I was having my contractions, I would push 3 times, and then I would fall back, and then I would actually fall asleep for a good minute or 2 until my next contraction. I would wake up, push, and then do it again. And it got to the point where I was snoring, and I snored in like 30 seconds of my contraction, and it actually the nurses kind of were laughing at me, and I had no recollection of this until my husband kind of told me, like, hey, yeah, you were knocking out after every contraction, like you even snored. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. But then afterwards, they moved us into another room to recover. You know, I had the pediatrician come in, my doctor came in, nurses came in, make sure I was latching properly, since I did want to breastfeed. And they helped me a lot with all that. Then I, you know, just rested, breastfeed, changed her diaper, on and on and on. And then on the 3rd day, she was jaundice, and it was pretty bad. Not bad to where she had to go to the NICU, but bad enough where they had to do the ultralight therapy. So she did that for about a day and a half. So we didn't actually leave until the end of the 4th day, so around 6 o'clock. And mind you, she was born Tuesday. She was born Tuesday around 2 in the morning, and we didn't leave until Thursday around 6 o'clock. And she was doing the ultraviolet therapy that Wednesday and then that Thursday. So it was a good day and a half. And basically they just encouraged us to feed her as much as she would eat, you know, constantly wake her up to feed her so that she could go to the bathroom, and then that would actually release the bilirubin so that her jaundice would go away. And so that's basically what we did, with constant monitoring from the nurses and everything. That to test her every few hours just to make sure her levels were going down. They had to monitor me because of my blood pressure and everything. And I was actually released from the hospital before she was, but they let me stay, so that was nice. And yeah, I basically just recovered. My recovery was pretty, honestly, this is postpartum has actually been the best thing in my pregnancy. Ironically enough, I only had 2 stitches, so, and I was numb there, for a good bit. So the recovery time was pretty fast. I could start walking pretty much the same day, but until the catheter was out, they didn't want me to move unless I was assisted. So, and I only had the catheter for like less than 24 hours. So, or about 24 hours. So the recovery time was pretty well. They gave you these reusable cotton underwear, and then you had to wear like these huge pads. And right off the bat, it just kind of felt like a heavy period. It wasn't even that bad. And you know, my doctors were even like, my nurse was even like, oh, you're not even bleeding that much. So I don't know if it was because I only had 2 stitches or I just didn't have a lot of blood. I don't know. But it really wasn't that bad. The pain, I mean, it was sore down there, and it kind of felt like a cut, but it wasn't bad at all, especially when they give you like this like numbing spray. I don't remember what it's called. And basically it numbs it. It's for itching, burning, and pain. So it kind of numbed it a little bit. And then I took actually Motrin for the pain, and it kind of just felt like second day period cramps. Like it was nothing too bad. And every few hours I went to the restroom, I cleaned myself off. I would spray that, and then I would put the witch hazel pads that they gave me on that, and all that like really helped. And I actually did that for like a week and a half. I'm at 2 weeks right now postpartum, so it's pretty recent. You know, I still remember everything. My daughter's only 2 weeks old. So yes, it was kind of painful the first couple days, and my swelling was really bad up until probably like 4 or 5 days ago. So for a good week, a week and a few days, my swelling was really bad. Swelling in my stomach was really bad. I was very bloated. Essentially I just drank a lot of water and just peed it out, because right now I could fit into my old clothes from before I got pregnant. So all the swelling kind of went down pretty much immediately. I have a lot of loose skin, but you know, that's normal, and that should stretch back down here in the few months. I mean, it takes 9 months for you to grow this child. It's going to take quite a few months for it to really go back as much as it can. So but yeah, my bleeding is pretty much gone. I have a little bit of brown discharge, so I'm wearing like liners and stuff like that, but no pads. I mean, I didn't have to spray the that spray in like a few like good 5 days now. I'm just using the liner, like literally that's pretty much it. There was one night where I felt like I had ripped my stitches, which is almost virtually like it pretty much can't happen, but it felt like it. I was in so much pain, and it was because I wasn't going to the bathroom as much, and just the pain the pain medicine wore off. That's pretty much why. And so I just made sure it was moisturized down there, and with the spray and the witch hazel and stuff like that, because once it dried out, that's when I noticed it kind of hurt and it kind of stung really bad. It was more like a stinging pain just from the stitches. So after that, I really had no problems with it, and I took a lot of warm showers just because I had a lot of cramping. Like, it wasn't really painful, but it was uncomfortable, so I had a lot of cramping, and I just took some hot showers, and that really helped. And plus my back was hurting from where the epidural was put in, and that really hurt up until like a few days ago, like 2 days ago. So I mean, that probably hurt worse than anything postpartum. But other than that, I really, like, so far it's been amazing postpartum. I feel completely fine. Nausea completely went away. The hot flashes completely went away. Food aversions completely went away. Everything about pregnancy completely went away. My bloating was pretty much non-existent now. Honestly, giving birth, I've never felt as good in the past 9 months until now, which is really sad, but at the same time, like, I'm just really glad I feel okay, because I was not feeling okay, and it really hurt my mental health. It really concerned me. I thought I was gonna go through, like, postpartum depression because of how awful I felt. It put a strain on mine and my husband's relationship the whole 9 months. That's because I was never in a good mood. My grades were a lot lower this semester than they were in previous. I was constantly fighting with him because I was basically bedridden. I mean, and then all this corona stuff happened. It put a lot of pressure on me. I was doing online work and sleeping all day, and when I would wake up, I would feel so nauseous that my husband had to run and get me something to eat in like 10 minutes, or else I would throw up. He got tired of, taking care of me, and I was not being that pleasant with him to begin with, and it was very stressful, mentally, physically, and he knew that, and he tried his best. One thing I also forgot to mention is I was Strep B positive, so they tested my urine and it was pretty present, which means I had a high level, and they just had to give me antibiotics before I gave birth. So they gave me like 2 rounds of antibiotics 4 hours apart from each other, and yeah, I mean, that was really the only thing. That and high blood pressure was really the only thing that was complicated in my pregnancy. Other than that, I felt horrible. My symptoms were very heightened. She is a really good baby. She, for the most part, sleeps a lot. We're still trying to get her on a sleeping schedule and trying to get her to differentiate night and day. That's kind of the worst part. She sleeps a lot during the day and then doesn't want to at night, and I'm gonna start working here in a few weeks, so we need to get that kind of worked out as much as possible. But she's a really good baby. She feeds extremely fine. She's actually hungry all the time. She eats a lot when she eats, and it's often, so she's gaining weight very rapidly, and it's pretty nice to see. She's not that fussy. She's, like I said, she's a pretty good baby. She hasn't given me a lot of trouble at all, and yeah, but other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm really happy I gave birth. I'm a lot happier right now, and I'm enjoying her, and I'm hoping to make more lifestyle videos, more maybe empowerment videos, just because I know as a working mom, it can be kind of hard, it can be stressful. I mean, I'm not currently working right now just because I'm still, in my recovery process, but I can just imagine with working and then coming home and breastfeeding and worrying about your baby and worrying who's taking care of your baby and what she's doing and is she okay, and then on top of that, corona, and are you gonna bring it home to her, or is a family gonna bring it home to her, and just all that stuff. And yeah, that's kind of my pregnancy story, my postpartum, kind of everything that I've kind of experienced these last 10 months. So I'm glad that you guys got to hear it. I'm glad that I could share this with y'all, and I hope other people relate. I hope that you guys just can follow me through this journey and kind of learn with me about my experiences being a first-time mom. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and she's getting really fussy, so I need to go feed her, but but yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and hope that you guys can support me starting this. So thanks.